first off, I just want to commend everybody for their presentations. Some great work is going on out there, and I feel bad going last because how am I supposed to compete with all these great things everybody else is doing out there? So again, great stuff out there. So moving on to our presentation, my name is Michael Williford. I'm the Director of Student Services at Victor Valley Union High School District. And I believe with me, I think she's in here, Dr. Ramona Yee. Are you here, Dr. Yee?
I am, Mike. I'm here.
And we are going to be presenting today on behalf of our district and what we've been kind of working on in our community engagement initiative and our problem practice. So first up, we have, of course, this is kind of how our school district is built. We have three comprehensive high schools, 9th through 12th grade. They roughly have about 2,000 kids at each one of those school sites. We have one traditional middle school that's 7th and 8th grade. And then we have 4 schools that are 5, if you actually count our continuation school, that are 7th through 12th grade campuses. 2 of those are parent choice campuses. And then we also have, of course, our Victor Valley Adult Education School. That's kind of how our district is built. Our demographics of enrollment, this is kind of a quick snapshot so everybody kind of knows what we have. We roughly have about 70% of our students are Hispanic or Latino. We have about 16 to 17% of our students are African American. And then we have about 6% are white. And then down below, you'll see of those numbers, we have about 1,500 kids that are EL students, about 1,500 kids that are special ed, 302 foster students in our district, and about 195 students that are homeless. Moving forward, we were working on our problem of practice when we had met previously. Our big thing that we noticed was our lack of our families being involved, of coming to our events, having suicide prevention workshops, having different events at our sites, having different district events, and we would put flyers out there, we would social media blast them, and then 2 people would show up. So again, that has been our big piece of trying to figure out ways to get more people to come in for these workshops and services and things that we needed to do to get more families in. And so we've done different things with that. Moving down, some of the causes that we kind of discussed was language and time. And then, of course, cultural translation, interpretation for people not speaking the language. And then another piece we're looking at as a possible action, and that step was, of course, our empathy interviews. And everybody's kind of already talked about it, which is that student voice and that parent voice. Like going out there and find out, why are people not coming in? Why are people not being a part of that system? Are we doing something? Are we being, uninclusive? So what systems do we need to work on? So moving forward, so some of our current systems that we started to do, this is kind of our first step, was that we started surveying our families on our sites and also our district needs. So, through DLAC, through our site levels, through ELACs, school site councils, and then also parents coming to board meetings. And that was a big one that happened just recently, to where parents, are coming to our board meetings and saying that we need more help. We need translation, we need support, we want to be involved in decision-making processes. So with that, our district is currently, under Dr. E, I'll let her jump in here in a second, is currently doing an audit on our current services within the district, number of bilingual staff at sites, number of bilingual staff at district office, reviewing our site demographics to guide decision-making processes, and reviewing our hiring practices and the budget to support families. Dr. Yi, is there anything you'd like to add on that?
Just that going back to what Dr. McCormick talked about this is legacy work. And when Mike and I joined Victor Valley Union High School District back in July, what we were noticing were there were definitely equity gaps, gaps where we were not inviting our non-English families to the table. We were not making it accessible to them. Board meetings did not have translation, LCAP meetings and forums and stuff for this group. So we were just really cognizant that this was something that we needed to do. So started a needs assessment, actually started it this week. And it's going to kind of help guide us to what we need to do to make sure that we are offering our families these supports and resources so they can come to the table and have some good discussions with us. We were actually very thankful that we did have a couple of parents, our elect parents from one of our high schools, who actually came out to our board meeting last Thursday and spoke on behalf of that. So the need is absolutely there. The right thing to do is absolutely to support where we can and then put money, where it matters. So we're really excited about it, and it really aligns really nicely with some of the work that we will be starting with our equity task force. And again, our problem of practice for this collaboration. So thank you, Mike.
Thank you. So moving to the next piece. So kind of some areas of focus that we've kind of got from this deep dive, even starting to work on, is first, of course, is creating a positive practices at our school sites to really welcome in our families, make them feel a part of the school culture, part of that decision-making process. So that's one big piece we were kind of looking at for an area of focus. Another one was strategies to improve inclusive practices, best practice for early identification. So that was another piece there. We wanted to make sure of being inclusive. Another area of focus was new professional learning networks for educators. So that was a big one because we have at our school sites, we are hiring family engagement liaisons for every school site, but yet we need to make sure we're training them on the best practices to get families to come in. That they are not coming in with any tools. So we want to make sure that, through family engagement network, working through San Bernardino County Superintendent's Office of Schools on those family engagement networks, getting them all the tools they need to make sure that they can be successful in helping support our families at the school sites. And the last one we were looking at too, and again, this is something that's ongoing, is looking at our hiring practices and job descriptions and making sure that we actually have built into our system through HR or through our personnel commission, practices set up so that we can actually hire individuals into our district to actually help support our families. We work for the community, we work for the families, we work for our neighborhoods. So we need to make sure that we are changing hiring practices and those systems to make sure we're supporting those areas as well. And maybe get rid of some practices that have been in existence over 30 or 40 years that are outdated. So it's looking at those kind of avenues and those changes. So part of our plan that we've been kind of working on was, again, we're working on currently on increasing the number of bilingual staff at our school sites. We have some sites, honestly, that have only one individual on the whole school site as bilingual. And if you looked at our numbers going back, you notice that we actually have about 1,500 students that are EL students. But really, though, when we did a survey, looking into a deeper dive, when we did a language home survey, we actually have closer to 3,000 to 4,000 parents that don't speak English. But with that, we also learned too, though, that there's also Chinese and Tongan and so many other languages that we also need to learn how to help serve. And so that's another avenue that, kind of opened up another problem of practice for us, because how do we make sure we're serving all of our families and not just, the high priority one. Lastly, too, so moving forward on that, also too, again, as Dr. Yee has stated, making sure that all of our flyers and letters and information at sites and district level are going home in multi-languages. I'll be very honest with you, when I got here and when Dr. Yee and I got here in July, stuff was being sent home in English only for the most part. And so that's causing that wall to be set up to where families, especially our Spanish-speaking families, are not being actively engaged in this process because, one, they don't know it's happening, and two, we're not really reaching out to them. And so, having one district translator, and in my department, we have a translator. So trying to get information out in multi-languages, as well as too, when we record a session, like for example, we had a parent workshop that we did recently. We recorded it, but we also made sure it was translated at the same time. So when we do post it up on a video on the website, on our social media feeds, there's a Spanish link to it as well. So that way we're making sure that we're trying to meet all the needs of our families in our community. Also too, as Dr. Yee kind of had mentioned, and I'll let her jump in here too on this one if she would like to, we're working on creating a equity institute or equity academy to where it's going to be built, of course, of site administrators, parents, families, and really working on equity, that lens of equity to really get people involved in that. Also too, we were giving each school site $1,000 for their parent resource rooms to help, again, create an inviting environment for them, from either, buying computers, having Chromebooks, buying refrigerators, buying coffee, whatever it is we need to do to bring families in to make them feel a part of the community, giving them money to help support that. Also, too, we're ensuring that all school sites have a family engagement liaison for 6 hours a day. So that way there's somebody there that families can go to directly and get resources from, meet with them. They don't have to go find the principal, they don't have to find a counselor, but somebody there to help guide them and get them to a different area. So also, too, we hired a district family parent engagement liaison at the district level to help with that as well. And we also hired a district foster homeless youth counselor. So again, we want to make sure that we're addressing the multi-levels of needs in our district and having a resource person there so that families have someone to go to directly and they're not being put through the voicemail hell, so to speak, excuse my language, or the phone tree and not get anybody. So we're trying to really make it so that there is a direct point person for a lot of the pieces and a lot of the families in our community. And with that, that's kind of where we're at in our infancy stages of our CEI. And just thank you all for listening and your input.
Thank you so much, Victor Valley team.